Yep. So, hi, welcome again to the IDG session. IDG, as you know, is the Informal Discussion Group, which is a carry forward from our college days, St. Stephen's College. And in these times, it's moved on to this Zoom platform. Now, all of us have been talking about the lockdown. And we all know that when the first lockdown was announced, we were given, I think, just a few hours notice. And there was a scramble to get stuff at home because we didn't want to be stocked out, and Amazon and Swiggy and everybody else stopped delivering. So it was actually the local Kirana store guys who turned our saviors. They would come every day, open their shops, whether they were small hole in the wall shops or large shops. They even started home delivery. And all of us actually survived the lockdown because of these Kirana store guys. So these are the unsung heroes of the pandemic and the lockdown. And today's guest actually focuses on these local Kirana store guys and addresses their concerns. And therefore, I am happy to have this conversation with Sachin Chhabra, a fellow Stephanian, who through his work tries to make the life of these Kirana stores owners easier. So hi, Sachin, and looking forward to finding out more about the work that you do. So to start off immediately, why did you name your venture Peel Works? How, where does that come from?
Okay, so there are two answers to that. Firstly, Peelworks and then Taiki. Peelworks, basically, when we started off, we said, there was this whole belief in large organizations. Sonu, you worked in TAS for a long time. I started my career with Unilever. These companies wanted to and continue to want to own every aspect of the value chain, right? Be it manufacturing and supply chain, distribution, sales, marketing, and in my ideology is that companies must pick up a core operational domain. So for me, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, these are marketing companies, right? I mean, do you really need to get into manufacturing, and do you really need to get into sales and distribution? Or can you just be creators and owners of IP, of brands, and what goes in making a product, right? So we said we are going to encourage the industry to start peeling off the layers that are irrelevant or do not offer any sustainable advantage to the company. And we wanted to still stay focused on the operational aspect of it. That's why it works. So that's how the name Peelworks came about. Now, the product that you and I are discussing today is called Tyche, which is actually spelled as Tychee in Greek. That's the goddess of prosperity, which is, the counterpart of goddess Lakshmi in India for Hindus. But then we said we're working with customers who are traders, and if we took Tychee to them, it's going to become Tichi or something. So we phonetically spelled it out as Taike. So the name's actually stuck because I think it's easy to recall. And so those are the two words that we work with, actually.
Yeah, and I guess we'll peel the layers of your Peel Works to find out more what you do. But let's just go back to the beginning, as we say. So you did Eco, right?
Yes.
In college, and then you joined XLRI for management. So at what stage did you decide that at that time, did you know that you were going to be an entrepreneur one day?
No, I wasn't sure. My father had a business, and I saw him dealing with a lot of challenges because his time, like we all know, there was no capital. Their banks wouldn't lend easily. There was a whole lot of corruption in how, the limited financial industry worked. So I did not think I'd do that. But, in 2010, I came to a bit of a crossroads. I needed to move to London for my career progression in the Unilever headquarters. And the idea of moving away from the countries never appealed to me much, right? I mean, both Vijay and I don't even do overseas holidays too much. We'd rather explore, parts of the country. So I wanted to be close to my parents, at least, 2 hours away. And so there were a lot of personal reasons why I just didn't want to go there. Then L'Oreal came through with an offer, and so I said, not another HR role in a consumer goods. I wanted to do something different with my life. So I was clear that I wasn't going to be in corporate for the next 4 to 5 years. And if the venture didn't do well, I'd come back and do my corporate life, right? So that was when I was 37 years of age. I'd spent 15 years or thereabouts with Unilever. So I was reasonably confident that, it's worth an attempt. And I did not mind failing at all. I don't mind it still. So it was naturally, I'm so glad I didn't do an HR role from Unilever again. It still doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah. So before we come to Peelworks, just take us through your Levers days, because Levers is known as the leader factory or the CEO factory. And the management trainee program is very, very rigorous. So just briefly tell us about your Levers days, and what is it that you learned there that has helped you in your life as an entrepreneur?
So, when I went to XLR, I didn't know that Unilever was indeed the most preferred starting point for our space as a company, right? We're all clueless when we go into business schools, and Stevens was such a nice and cozy place that, I don't remember talking to Chandu or Preeti, and they're my close friends, ever about what I was going to do next. I think it was still a bit of a roulette and dice game where you got into, the brightest person didn't go to Ahmedabad and went somewhere else. So all of those things were not planned for. Once I went there, I said, okay, fine, if this is the best, we should give it a try. So I went in for a summer internship with Unilever. And then that converted into, our days, they called something like a pre-placement offer. And so that I converted into a management trainee role. And then the usual, the iconic Back Bay Reclamation, Garden Reach factory in Calcutta, and so on and so forth. So 15 months of training. And I started my stint in the worst possible place possible, called Eta in UP. That's 200 kilometers away. It was a very large Unilever enterprise there, which was doing dairy exports and tea and beverages. But dairy was such a horrible business to be in, and UP in itself, I mean, we all know how corrupt that city can get in terms of social ethics, right? It's not about the political system. It's people carry guns openly. And our days, 97 to 99, I mean, we had to send escorts because we used to collect a lot of cash as a company from the milk sellers and pay it to them in cash. So, send armed guards and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I went for an interview with Coke also those days, by the way. So then I said, okay, fine, it's just 2 years, let's be here. And that was one of the wisest decisions I made, to rough it out in ETA. And no phone calls, no SMS, no nothing, email. So I lost touch with every friend of mine in that place. But then came back to Bombay, and then was in Bombay with Unilever in different stints, including sales and distribution. Yeah. So I've worked with one of the finest. Now Lena is a CHRO there. She was my direct boss for almost a decade. Then I worked when Nitin was the CEO. He's either. So these were great people to work with. I mean, if I had to start my career again, it's definitely going to be Unilever. Yeah. One of the most ethical, intellectually stimulating. I mean, you name the positive, and I think it's a place cut out for people who want to genuinely learn and grow. Yeah. So I loved my time at Unilever a lot.
Yeah. So I guess that's where you first got an exposure into the retail distribution world.
Yeah.
I was reading somewhere that the Indian retail consumer goods market is a $600 billion market, $600 billion market, and 75% or more than that is through the Kirana stores.
Correct.
Right? And there are about 1.25, 1.3 crore of these Kirana stores, mom and pop shops.
Yeah.
So just do the numbers. I mean, what would be the average turnover of these guys, the median and the mode? I mean, if there's $600 billion business and 75% is in through these guys, and there are 1.25 crores of these. So how much of business does, on an average, an average guy do in a month, in a year?
Okay, so very complex, but I'll give you the answers based on experience, because most of the research companies have failed to actually get these counts right. And I don't blame them. It's just too complex to get this business understood. But see, firstly, Sonu, in 600 billion, we split into two parts, which is one is called the fresh part of grocery, which is fruit and vegetable, dairy, which is almost bought every day and consumed fresh, which is why it's called fresh. So that's about 300 to 400 billion. The balance 300 billion is what companies like Coke, Pepsi, Unilever, Procter and Gamble, and the long tail of local brands, plus the unbranded like staples, rice, wheat, and so on, get consumed by us, right? So if you look at a population of 1 billion plus, it's not difficult to comprehend why we will all together consume about 50,000 worth of fruit and vegetable plus grocery in a year, right? Which is how the 600 billion number seems to add up fine. So each household, it is expected that it spends 6 to 8,000 on grocery in a month, right? And that's how these numbers add up, which includes fresh again, right?
Right.
So it's a very complex thing because the fruit and vegetable part, Sonu, is distributed before 5 a.m. Okay. Grocery, the way we define, which is personal care categories, cosmetics, home care, processed foods, tea and beverages, juices, cold drinks, and so on and so forth, biscuits. These are sold typically between 11 and 5 p.m. Right? So these are very different businesses. Ninja Cart is a player on fruit side. We don't go there at all. We don't do any perishables, right? We don't have any cold chain. We don't distribute perishables. We are toying with the idea of potato and onions only because the point of sale is common. So for our customer, it becomes easier if he is also able to order potato and onions from us. But we have zero intention or capability into going into the fresh part of our business, right? Yeah. So grocery is our focus area, and that is what all of us consume. 5,000 is broadly per capita consumption as a family. A family is described as 4 individuals. What other number? Now, median of, see, every store in a city like Bombay, which sells grocery, must sell about 1 lakh to make anything out of it, okay? Because the typical margins from a store, for a store owner, are anywhere between 10 to 15%, depending on how large you are. The larger you get, the more the margins, because you negotiate better, right? So 10,000 is the bare minimum a person in Bombay needs to take back home to survive, right? We all know how hard that city can get in terms of cost of living. There is a long tail problem. So while we all say it's a 12 to 15 million numerical count, if you ask me, more than 2 to 3 lakhs, it's all unserviceable by even people like us. These are really tiny cigarette stalls than proper stores. These are stores where you call for anda, bread, doodh, and cigarette in the morning, right? Those stores do not, while they keep a bit of an assortment, they keep about 200, 300 SKUs. SKUs are stock keeping units, which matter, like popcorn or chips, or which basically get your early morning or evening alcohol parties going. But they don't have much meaningful assortment. So it's breakfast and party stock. Basically, that's the assortment there. Yeah. So those are not very relevant for us. We are focused on the top 3 to 5 lakh stores at this point in time. And those are massive stores. Those can go up to, so Bombay, we know stores that do about 1 crore plus every month on turnover, right?
A crore plus a year or
a month.
A month.
Per month.
Retail stores.
Yeah, look at stores like Rakhangi in Worli, right? I mean, you Patel Provision in Bandra. In non-COVID days, anybody who's keeping a pack of Pringles chips and South African fruit juices is typically a guy who's hitting 50 plus lakh on revenue, on sales.
Yeah.
But these are very rare SKUs to keep. I mean, you would never do it because it's also import, supplier, and take backs are bad. So we know stores that do about 1 crore plus. Whereas MK Ahmed in Bangalore, I don't know. I mean, I know this is the Bombay group, but now that guy is again 1 crore plus sales a month. So that's about 10 lakhs of net margin that they take.
So you're saying that, on an average, the retailer makes about 10 to 15% on turnover. But does the commission or the percent change in different parts of the country? Say, for example, is it that in Bombay or Delhi, they'll make more and in small villages, they're going to make less? Or is it the other way around?
So, Sonu, a lot of companies have the margin structure built on which category we're talking about. So, for instance, we sell a lot of edible oil, and edible oil in Chandigarh we sell Mashal. I don't know if you've heard of it. In Delhi NCR we sell Fortune. In Bombay there is Gemini. We walked out of Bombay because of expenses actually. In Bangalore, Sunpure is the leading brand. Now, in oil and fat, as we call it as a category, which includes ghee, value is captured at the consumer's end. Manufacturers make a rupee a liter. We are able to make, you see, the current price is $1,600 or so for a case, or about 160 a liter, and we will sell it off for 1% markup. So about 2 rupees per liter is what we make as distributors, right? So the entire, and it never sells on MRP, right? If you go and buy oil today, including Saffola, you would be surprised that without you asking for it, if the listed price is 550 for a 5-liter Saffola jar, the retailer will sell it to you at 490, 495, and 500, because oil does not get sold at MRP. So it's very thin category. Now, businesses in Bombay, the only way to make more money in this business is to build a local portfolio. So if you see in Bombay, which is why even on the head of the store promoter, there is a shelf which he has fully stocked up with local namkeens. So he will have more of Gujarati namkeen and snacks than Frito-Lays or other, guys who make wafers or salty snacks, because there is more margin there. Yeah. So companies, depends on the category. So local products get you most margin. You can make a lot of money on personal care, but then there is also investment. So personal care, I'd reckon a shampoo bottle of Procter & Gamble, Unilever, L'Oreal will fetch him almost about 20-25%, including all the displays and top-up margins that he gets. But on a Fair and Lovely or on a very fast-moving product, you're not going to get more than 8% from a consumer goods company, come what may.
Yeah. When you're talking of discounts, I noticed that my local Kirana guy, who I've never seen, if all the work is done on the phone, payment is done on Paytm, I haven't seen him. But before the pandemic, sporadically when I would buy from him, I would get bina mange that discount.
Yeah.
But in the pandemic, I think he realized that, we were all captive customers. So I noticed that he just stopped giving discount. And now everything is on MRP. And I, for one, am not complaining, because, we are able to survive the lockdown only because of this guy. And therefore, I don't mind him making that little bit of extra. But interesting that the discounts actually help these guys build that customer connect.
Yeah.
But, I don't know how many of us are like me, where we buy stuff from the local Kirana store, but really don't know much about him or her. So just tell us through an average day in the life of a Kirana store owner, not your Rakhani type, but an average guy.
Yeah. Firstly, to answer your question, Sonu, you're right. These guys know that if they don't give you value, and Bombay is a very value sensitive market, irrespective of which socio-economic class you might operate at. So they do that to retain their customers and build loyalty. In the first wave of COVID, to be honest, I think we all did well, right? The Kirana stores did well. As a company, we did well. In fact, we were not able to meet demand because there was too much supply chain disruption at the up end, right? So we were not getting enough stock from manufacturers. Their CNFAs were shut, factories were shut. So whoever had stock, whatever you had, was actually getting sold in advance. We've actually, as a policy those days, we said we will actually turn our margins down to zero, simply because that was not the time where you wanted to be accused of making money. So, COVID wave 1, as a matter of policy, we set all our margins to 0%. And we said, this is not really the time that we want to have focus on EBIT. Let's just fulfill. Wave 2 has been exceptionally hard for us. Okay. And when I say us, I think I'm one of them now, right? Because they're my customers. So if they suffer, I suffer along with a lot. Now, I am now clearly seeing the signs of of economy under stress, okay, I am not able to sense any demand for premium products anymore, right? There is nobody asking for a Unibic biscuit. It's a Parle-G, Britannia Tiger, Good Day market now, right? I mean, if you have these three go out, okay? Ghee sales have tanked, oil has picked up, consumption is high, but it's all I can see people downgrading now, right? Even when we are offering great deals on personal products, there are no takers. And so honestly, people have stopped using deodorants clear completely because nobody is in outside, right? So I mean, either they're saving money or they think they're not perspiring, or their friends and family don't tell them that there is BO problem with them. So the deodorants are gone. Okay. And that was a high margin category. It was a 60% margin category. So yeah, so the profile is completely changed, and I think we have trouble ahead. If wave three is going to hit us anytime soon, which is next 8 to 12 weeks, there is going to be a problem in even with these stores. Okay, our cost structures have shot up like hell. In Bangalore, we are not. Now it's opening up on Monday from 6 to 5. Last 5 weeks, Sonu, we've been servicing these stores from 6 to 10 a.m. Okay. Now just imagine that your fulfillment center and your cost structures were designed for a particular throughput with a particular margin profile. And now you've dropped to 50% because a truck can only do that many drops in a day, right? And I also know I can't deploy double the capacity in one day because everybody wants to use the truck. So we've missed orders. We've not been able to serve. Our staff has had a huge problem starting their days at 4 a.m., then going back at 11 a.m. So this round, I think we all lost. And we really had trouble. But let's see, I mean, it's part of the game. This market is here to stay, right? So I think give the COVID exception another year or so, I think this market will pick up again.
Yeah, yeah.
That was a long answer to that question, but
No,
that's how this works. So
but
grocery life, you asked me in a day. Now forget the 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. These, if you sell milk, you start your day at 5. Okay. If you sell milk and bread, that is. So if you get into breakfast category, your day starts at 5 and you finish at 9 p.m. Okay. Most guys do not have more than 1 or 2 boys in the store because it's expensive. They're eating away your margin. So if you are a 3 lakh store, which is where I think people attending the call will go or higher. Most of us, unless we're a smoker, we don't go to smaller stores because they're irrelevant and they don't exist in the localities that we are. They're largely in extremely low income, you know, habitation that you find these stores dotting the city. So starts at 5 a.m. First focus is only on milk, biscuits, bread, which is all low volume, very low volume. But it builds customer frequency and retention. The guy who serves you milk is typically the guy your domestic health will go to buy oil in the day. So that's why some people love to do that category. It's more like a retention category rather than a money-making category. Money is made from largely personal care, staples, processed foods is a lot of margin. So except for noodles, Maggie noodles, you'll make about 2%. And on Yippee, you'll probably make 4 because it's not that strong. But these are typically then the categories you sell during the day. During the day, you have a minimum of 100 salespeople coming onto your store, asking what you want to buy. And you have to force yourself to think because there is no electronic system to manage inventory in 99% of the stores. So you start dictating to him, and you also have to keep a track of whether you're getting right prices or not. And then, these are typically the distributors of companies that come and serve. And stocks are delivered. So remember, Sonu, even the sellers don't have technology to know. If I'm selling you Pantene shampoo today imagine you're a store owner, Sonu. I don't know if the distributor that I work with has the stock to deliver or not. Yeah. In the morning, he might have 10 cases, but since 100 salesmen are making concurrent calls to different outlets, You don't know when you will run out. So even though the retailer is making an order, he's not sure whether he's going to get it day after or not. Then he settles the past bill in cash, and that's how he does 100 sellers. And a typical store of 3 lakh gets about 100 to 125 customers in a day. We call it footfalls. So there are 250 transactions that he does in the 8 hours or 10 hours that he's open. 100 to buy, 150 to sell. And lunch hour, everybody is clear. I mean, there are lazy cities like Pune, Nagpur, Goa, where everything shuts down in the afternoon from 12 to 3, 12 to 4. Chandigarh shuts down. But most cities, the stores keep themselves up and running except for the half an hour, 45 minutes in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's their life, really, Sonu.
Yeah. So you are actually taking through your work, Peelworks, you are actually helping the store owner focus only on on selling his stuff, because you're taking away that headache of sardardi of dealing with 100 salesmen through the day. So tell us, how do you do that?
Okay, so what we're saying to him is, you don't need to deal with 100 people first. Okay, this is a system that's been imposed on you by. So Unilever was the first one to set up a distribution system in India, and because they set it up in a way where they said exclusivity, and you will pay my check before my truck leaves for you, so no credit, but you will give credit to the stores. Everybody is trying to follow that model, to the extent that the distributors don't want to be distributors anymore. Okay, it was earlier a family business, but now people are saying, for me to dispatch 200 orders in a day, 300 that I serve, the stores of 50 SKUs each is too complex. Okay, dealing with 30 trucks, 30 labor, companies, salespeople, and pilferage, shortage. In fact, Walmart also has within a decimal, they lose, I think, about 0.3 or 0.4 as pilferage with all the tech that they have. In a business like ours, you have to cut down all these inefficiencies. Pilferage will never be zero in any country, right? We know people have different moral standards. But, how do you optimize routes? How do you deliver? Those things the distributors do on what we call tribal knowledge. And tribal knowledge is becoming irrelevant in our society. When I started to ride a bike or when I used to go to college from home, sometimes on my bike when my dad was kind with me, I did not need a Google map, right? I knew how to get to college. Now, we've all become dependent on tech so much that even if we know, Google about, let's see, we might get a better route. Half the time Google leaves us in a street where you can't drive anymore, but still we rely on Google, right? That tribal knowledge has gone missing. So if you give a loading slip, like we call it, to the truck guy saying, go deliver it in these 20 stores, he's clueless. He doesn't know behind Apsara Cinema, second right. He doesn't get all that anymore. So the distributors are now completely getting choked by the revolution tech has created outside of their business. And that's where we're coming in. We're coming in to say, firstly, give me one good reason why a retailer cannot order what he wants after 8 p.m. and before 7 a.m. Okay. Secondly, why do I have to deploy a sales guy who costs me 1% of total sales? So, if a FMCG turnover is 1,000 crores, they are spending 10 crores a year only on these sales guys. Okay. Now, and tech can do this job in you can't even put a number to it. It's so small. It's server cost and a bunch of developers who maintaining the product master. There is a cost of taking pictures and making it nice, but over that volume, there is no cost of running a tech application really, right? And we haven't really needed to go into the AI and ML space yet. We're still saying first move people from ordering to a person to ordering to an app.
Yeah, but I have a question here. And all through our, business school and then career, we've been taught and experienced that it is the relationship between the seller and the buyer. In this case, the company representative and the retail owner, which actually helps the company get more orders from the retailer. And it is the relationship between the seller and the buyer. When I am the buyer and the seller is the Kirana store, he's able to either upsell me or give me another product or whatever. So tell me, how does this relationship enter, or how do you merge the relationship with tech? So if there is no human interface, then it's just ordering on the basis of what you want. How a company is going to build that brand pull from the retailer? Is it? Then there's nothing except delivery and pricing.
Now, so you've hit the nail on the head. See, this was the um, undue advantage that the large companies had. I mean, you ask any sales guy who's been trained at my time, uh, we were all told start the morning beat at 8 a.m. because it's ultimately a cash flow business for the retailer, right? So if you can capture the cash flow, then you go in and your competitor struggles to find space. So the shelves get filled out, that's limited. Cash available with the retailer, that is limited. So that was the way a lot of upselling and offers and discounts used to get rolled by the distribution side of a large company, right? I think what's happened now, Sonu, is that with so many SKUs that have come in the market, so many players that have come into this category, I think consumers have become very experimental and also very fussy. So if they like something, they want only that. And they are also open to experimenting in non-engaged categories like floor cleaner, right? I mean, I don't think we are really fussy on Procter & Gamble, Reckitt or Dabur on who's producing a floor cleaner, right? It's a very unengaging category. So the retailers are now beginning to say, don't dump. Okay, I don't want it. You might have something great, it does not sell. Your prices are, I get better prices outside. So we are trying to actually create and become distributors of all grocery brands in the country for a store. Okay. Now, actually, just today if I could just screen share for a sec, then I'll be able to bring the value prop out for you. Is it okay if I did screen share?
Please go ahead and share screen. You can.
It's disabled, I think.
No?
No.
Okay, hang on. It should. See now?
Yeah. Yeah, now it's happening. So this is something we advertised in Chandigarh Kesari today. So it's a small paper that the traders read. But you see, I mean, this is a value proposition to a retailer now, which is saying product and prices like never before. That's our name. And we're saying download this app from Google Play Store. Credit available to select outlets. So we are also offering credit to them on all assortment, provided they have a good CIBIL score and they meet with the basic, norms that the NBFCs have on risk management and so on. So this is how we actually are wanting to say, get rid of the distributor relationship. Okay, start talking to us. We have all that you need. Our prices are great. We are offering you next day delivery and guaranteed because it's tech, Sonu, for us. So if our inventory becomes zero, nobody can order. So you cannot have less than 99% fill rates with us. The 1% drops happen because at the time of loading or the time of picking and packing, you have breakages, right? I mean, you could break a ketchup bottle or you could break a plastic bottle or staples could tear open. So we have shortfalls, but those are not because we don't know what we have, right? So we do next day delivery. Now we use Google as the platform on which we actually generate what we call a trip sheet every day, which optimizes which truck should go to which all stores and what time will it come back after delivery, right? So there is a lot of tech in the background that we use to offer this value prop. In the back end also, Sonu, we have what we call a buying marketplace, which is where people come and list what they have as inventory and at what price and terms are they willing to offer us. Then we optimize for that. We also go looking for credit. We look for good prices.
Yeah.
And also look at past performance of the supplier. So if it all meets a criteria, we make a purchase order on him and then we bring the goods in. So that's how we bring prices down. That's how we build our assortment, front end optimization, credit. So I'm not saying we are like, we are all there. I think we're also getting there, but we're already better than what they had, right? We on price and convenience, we are beating the traditional models big time. But there is a long runway in front of us on bringing this vision to the market to become India's largest distributor of groceries. So we're working hard on that. Yeah.
So I was also reading somewhere that they were saying that Amazon and Reliance, uh, they all need these Kirana stores. So do they need them as their customers to order from them as a one-store shop? Or why do companies like Amazon and Reliance need to focus on these Kirana stores?
Well, the answer is simple. Sonu, you can't run a grocery delivery business. You can't lug spinach from Sonipat into Delhi to service an order. Okay. Now, these guys are masters in building warehouses of millions of square feet. Okay. Now, and I'll tell you what we need. We need, when you keep, as your assortment goes larger, your supply chain design changes. But right now, I need a spoke at 10 rupees a square feet, no more than 5,000 square feet, in let's say, to serve about 3,000 stores. A city like Bombay has about 50,000 stores, of which 20 will be relevant for us. But it has 30,000 stores that we can cover. Now, for large companies to operate at that store average order value, to deal with returns, to deal with bouncings, collection issues, and so on, it's not easy. Okay. So they've been at it for a long time. Reliance has had its B2B business called Reliance Market for more than a decade now, right? Amazon distribution has been at it for 4 years. The reason they're not billion-dollar ventures on tech distribution is because balance sheet is not the driver of this, right? In fact, when we go over to raise capital, a lot of VCs ask us, what's the moat here, right? I mean, if somebody else comes along and offers the same value at lower price, why will the retailer not switch? And I tell them he will switch. I mean, why are you expecting me to say that, he will not? When is the last time we paid higher price for something knowingly? Nobody does that, right? So this is an execution business. You have to have great tech, which controls scale and brings your cost down. If you are not able to continue to bring your cost down, you will get kicked out. Okay. Now that is where large companies get into a big problem. How do you do that? You're saddled with heavy servers, security costs, indirect costs, running out of fancy offices. Frugality is most important in this business. You pay your people well, but you don't expect. So most of our company works out of warehouses, right? All our regional staff works out of our fulfillment centers, even before COVID, because you don't want to pay for WeWork 25,000 a seat. It's not compatible with this business model. Neither do I sit in a fancy office, right? We love what we're doing, so we know that our customers need low prices, and we work to get those low prices.
Yeah. So tell me, whenever we talk of the Indian market versus the developed world market, it's almost, in almost derogatory terms, it is said that India mein to organized retail nahi hai. It's only these mom and pop stores. So tell me, with your knowledge of this sector, not only in India, but across the world, how is this an advantage for us as consumers and as economies, or is it a disadvantage for us that we still don't have organized retail? And is the day in the life of an average mom and pop store in India the same as the life of an average mom and pop store, say in London or New York?
Yeah. I surprise myself with this answer, so because I'm not a socialist at heart. Okay, so I think after economics and being in business, that is not my first operating point. India needs to generate employment, right? I don't think uh, we can ever have a situation where Walmart takes away 80% of our distribution and consumer facing business. Because if you look at simple mathematics, if there are 12 million stores that are working to serve us today across the country, the deal is they all employ on an average even one person outside the store promoter. That's 25 million people employed. Okay, we should never allow that to happen, because unemployment here is a simple way to drive crime, right? Where does a hungry man go? Okay, so I think there is that view that some of us who influence things must always be aware of, and we don't. Walmart will bring the price down by 1%, 2%, and honestly, in the scheme of things, it's immaterial. Okay, for us, those efficiencies we don't want, right? Most people can afford those inefficiencies. As far as 25 million people are finding a place to go to work every day. So that's the way I answer. Secondly, India has a huge bias for fresh. Okay, our mindset is, my parents, even in COVID days, and I used to yell at them all the time to not go out. Okay, to start that I will order via a big basket or something. Stop going out. They won't listen. Okay, they still don't listen. Now you can get them to wear double mask. They can all get injected. But the fact of the matter is, our parents want to go and buy vegetable for the day. Now, the deal is, when you have to go and buy the vegetable for the day, can I also buy grocery along with it? That is why the adoption of this whole habit of taking your car once a week to a grocery store 12 kilometers away never got adopted. The problem was not the Walmart business model. The problem is our consumption habits. And I don't see how they will change in a hurry. I think this whole habit of fresh is too much. We're not a cold cut country, right? We can't store, our freezers are small, right? So we are like that. I mean, you look at Licious or these, even the non-vegetarian food companies that have come up, express delivery, 60 minutes, same day delivery, even non-veg has become fresh for us, So we are the company which gets KFC to bring an Indian variant if they want to do it, rather than adopt the KFC of US. So and Walmart is exited for a reason. I think it has tried its best for the last 1.5 decades, one regulatory tangle after the other. Business was going nowhere. They did all of, I think, 300, 400, 500 crores a month of sales, which is nothing for that scale and company. So I don't see these mom and pop stores disappearing for a decade at least, Sonu. After that, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So you talked of the Indian consumer wanting to buy fresh. Uh, just take us through how an average Indian consumer has changed, if at all, in the buying behavior, and how the Kirana stores have kept pace with the changing behavior of the Indian consumer. Has the Indian consumer changed at all in the way that he or she behaves? Say 25 years ago, when maybe you were in college.
Yeah. So one big change that I definitely see, Sonu, is that if you look at the chemist, traditional chemist or pharma channel, as we call it, that was a place for the sick people to go, right? It has suddenly become a hallmark of genuine products for skincare. So now if you want something to do with baby care or skincare, cosmetics, personal care, people somehow have got this huge association in their minds that a chemist will never sell me fake. Okay. So pharma, then I'm seeing a lot of supplements have, I think we've all become aware as Indians that once you get to your mid-age, supplements help, right? So, I see an explosion on Himalaya range or imported range, or there are a lot of direct-to-consumer companies that have come in what they call the nutraceutical segment, right? So, one big change I've seen is chemists has become not about sick, okay? It's become about hip and happening also, right?
It's about wellness.
It's about wellness, proactive wellness or wellness in general. Yes, you're absolutely right, Sonu. So that's one big change I've seen. Second, I grew up on Parle-G largely when I was very young. Now you find biscuits for diabetics, biscuits which have, Oreo at one end. So we've all seen an explosion on assortment. Okay. So when we started to trade in biscuit category, I was surprised. They have subcategories like glucose, cream, premium, chocolate, and then within chocolate, you have bourbon and so on and so forth. So just the biscuit category, if you listed all of it, Sonu, today we are about 300 SKU big, right? Right from the one which are oats driven to wherever. So explosion on choices. That's the second big change I'm seeing between what I remember and what I see now.
And in consumer preference for food, again, based on your experience, empirical or anecdotal, have customers moved away from those red chili chips that were made in the local bhar and the bhuna hua chana to packaged food? So, are there any categories where the big brands have not been able to make even a small dent?
Yeah, absolutely. The categories you mentioned. Then I tell you, there is a company called GTS. I don't know if you've heard of them. They make something called bullet rice, right? In Bangalore, bullet rice. Yeah,
Bullet rice.
Yeah, that it's a Nagpur-based company. For some strange reason, Bangalore consumes that, right? You can't push Lal Killa or India Gate on that. No chance. No way you can do that. A lot of these cities, even large metros, have stuck to unbranded salted savories, right? Which is what Frito-Lay's in earlier Avatar, I don't remember the name of that company, PepsiCo was trying to do. They acquired somebody in North. I forget the name of that company, but they've not been able to make a dent there at all. If you go to Matunga today, it's all unbranded salted snacks, right? You see Dadar, all Gujarati snacks. So staples, very particular about. Oil, extremely particular about. Savory and snacks, they don't want to buy branded ones. So there are categories that are not showing us signs of moving from unbranded to branded in a hurry at all.
Yeah. So, there is somebody, I think Chandradev wants to know some interesting stories from your entrepreneurship journey. So I'm sure that there are some, otherwise he wouldn't have asked the question.
The best experience, Sonu, I have is, and I'll be very candid because this is a closed group, which is why, recently I heard about somebody wanting to commercially transact within this group, and I said, what the hell is going on here? When these are my seniors and juniors, how can you even think of commercially transacting in a group like ours?
Yeah.
I had 82 rejections in 2017. 82 VCs refused to fund the company, okay? Because they said Reliance is coming in, Amazon's already there, there is no real moat in this business. It's too complex, low margin category. We don't see why we should fund it. 82 people said no. Okay. I was probably totally down and out. It's very tiring. I mean, imagine you go for an interview looking for a job and you get rejected 82 times, right? One after the other. So it's not like 7 no, 1 yes. The moment yes happens, the fundraising is closed, right? So 82 meetings converted to no. And for me, that's been the biggest experience of my life. It's taken the fear out of me, right? I somehow made it then, and it doesn't worry me now anymore. My life does not worry me. So that's been, I don't care what's coming tomorrow. Not that I'm reckless. I mean, when it's a closed, when it's a lockdown, I don't step out. So it's not like I'm reckless with my life, but I don't worry about tomorrow. I think I can make it. That's what I've learned the most.
Yeah. So, you went through 82 rejections, and that was a traumatic experience or failure, as we generally call it. But all of us have had to deal with and still are dealing with setbacks in our lives, right? Yeah. So what kept you going? What kept you motivated? Because all of us need to know how to handle not others, but ourselves during times of crisis.
So I think this is also a bit of a cleansing experience, right? Entrepreneurship, because you have to pay others before you pay yourself. And it is a burden we all carry because on the first, there is a set of people to be paid. So the fact, I love what I do. I think that's what kept me going. And I consciously reduced my circle to people who mattered to me, Sonu. I know I was judged by many people, but most of those relationships I broke where people judged me as a wreck or as a failure. Uh, I've now, and I'm so happy with the group I've maintained. So if you look back, and now linking it with college, so we have a large group of our batchmates of 94, but I'm quite there. I don't talk much there. And I also, I think people also get hurt when they don't know who you are and what you say. But there is a bunch of 35, 40 of us, and these are my classmates on the call, Chandu, Kapil, Preeti, where I'm saying if you guys don't talk, I will start sending good morning and good afternoon jokes, right? Which just piss everybody off in the college group. So I've really cut down my social circle to people who like me for who I am and don't want to size me up all the time, right? So therefore I don't feel sized up anymore. I came here in this group, and in this group I'm active actually because Vijay or somebody will come up with a nasty one every once in a while, and that's fun, or there'll be a fight between people, which is so harmless, and it's actually funny, this group. So I am now only with people who can help me laugh and they don't take me seriously.
Yeah, yeah. Talking of groups and your opinion on how has the pandemic affected group behavior. Let's talk of different groups, the WhatsApp groups and your target group, which is the retailers. Just tell us through how group behavior you've seen change, if at all, during the last 1.5 years.
In WhatsApp, I think we've realized that we might be the chief secretary of wherever. At the end of the day, you wear the same mask as I do, right? So I think it's been a leveler. Because and I use that word to replace CEO or a billionaire or whatever it is. I think everybody's realized that we're all putting one leg into our pant in the morning. We're not able to do two at the same time, right? So it's been a great leveler. On my business side, I think there has been a whole lot of giving that I see that's kicked in. So yeah. So yeah, people are helping each other out without wanting to know when will I get my money back. It's okay. I think people are saying, fine, I can help you with food. I can help you with this. I see a lot of social habit of giving that's kicked in because people are actually out of jobs. When you have a lockdown, labor they don't have savings, right? I mean, which I will know. I mean, the bank accounts have grown, but what's there in those accounts, right? Nothing. It's 2 days salary or 2 days daily wage that they keep there. So I see those changes. So I think employees are beginning to realize that they also need to be productive because the amount of layoffs that have happened, people are saying, yeah, I can't be a freeloader anymore. I'll get caught out. Yeah.
Actually, when you're talking of people's behavior and giving, my own experience has been, and this is anecdotal and based on my colony, in our normal colony, like in Delhi colony, we've had fights about parking and about, कि घर से आवाज ज़्यादा आ रही है, drill क्यों चल रही है. But during the pandemic, I think without even knowing any of the neighbors, except, as phone numbers on the WhatsApp group, people just came together. And I remember when my husband and I were, isolating because both of us were down with COVID and we didn't have any help. People who I had fought with because, their dog was, pooing all over my walking track and they refused to do anything. That was the first guy who said, listen, if you need food, we will prepare it and we will send it out to you. We leave it outside your house and you can come and pick it up. we've all seen a lot of bad behavior and a lot of, what we call the dementors, people who suck out happiness of you. But there's been so much of hope. There is so much of goodness that has been displayed in the pandemic, that I really think that going forward, we should focus on what went right instead of what went wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the,
absolutely.
so the last question, I think, because we are now coming to the 1 hour mark. Uh, you said that these guys, the Kirana store guys, are important for the Indian economy. What, according to you, is the future for them? Because when I now wear my family business hat, working with family businesses and combining it with what you said, which is distributors don't want to be distributors any longer. How is this going to be perpetuated from one generation to the other? Because will it be bad if all the Kirana store owners are unable to get their children to do the same job?
The newer generation is certainly saying this is not my career of choice. Definitely, right? And that's the problem most traditional businesses are facing today. People don't want to be manufacturing something, people don't want to be trading on something. I think the solution to this is going to be technology solely. There'll be so much of tech that will come in the next 10, 15 years that these businesses will get automated and something else will emerge. So will large stores start to produce their own private label, like Neelam in Khar, where we used to go very often? All packaged pickles and digestives and mouth fresheners and all, he's made his own private label. So I think the new generation will find a way to engage themselves in their business and make it more profitable than their fathers had the opportunity to. So I think these will stay, and I just think people find a way to find excitement in what they do. Uh, I'm hoping that'll happen. So I know I don't have a clear answer here, but I think that's what I'm hoping will happen.
And what is the future for Peelworks? What is your vision? What do you want Peelworks to be going
I,
forward?
in I'm really hoping we'll be able to list this company in Indian stock markets, because I have my passion to stay in this country, serve the businesses here. Uh, I'm looking to grow the company to a 50 city, do about 5,000 crores of sales per annum, take it to Indian stock market, and see what comes out of that. And then if the world changes too much, and like you just said, link it back to if stores start to shut down because the next generation is not interested, then we'll open our own stores.
Yeah.
Uh, but I don't think Walmart is the answer. I think the answer could be consolidation and aggregation with big brands. So if we are the suppliers, and we will start putting a logo on the top of the store and start making them franchisees, so that they don't lose the spirit of entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and employment, but we take control over inventory, cash, profitability, portfolio, private label. So the opportunities are humongous. I think we just have to make it to the next level.
Yeah. 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 So Vijay and Mayank both had questions. So Vijay, do you want to ask first?